Welcome to Falk and File with your hosts, Mike Falk and Jake File.
Welcome back to Falk and File. I'm Mike Falk.
And I'm Jake File.
We're going to start out today with some local sports talk. The Eau Claire Memorial baseball team had their first game in the Metrodome this year, and they just blew out their opponent, who was Milwaukee Riverside, by a score of 10-0. Now, as a lot of you might know, the Metrodome will be demolished after the Vikings finish their season this year. So Memorial's kind of made a tradition with playing their games in the domes, but this will be the last year that they ever play a game in the dome. So, I have to say, Jake, it must be kind of significant.
Yeah, I mean, once the Viking season will go down, so will the Metrodome.
And so will the Memorial baseball team in the dome. So our next local note, this was kind of impressive to me. The Blue Gold softball team, they have a conference win streak of 15 games. Now, they are not undefeated this year, but this win streak goes back to last year, includes all their conference games. Over the weekend, they beat UW Stevens Point by a score of 8-3 and UW Superior by a score of 8-0. So not only are they beating their opponents, they're killing their opponents. Yeah. 15 straight wins. Congratulations to the women Blue Golds. And right off the bat now, we're going to move to baseball. The Twins, 4-3. Brewers, 2-5. Here's my little point of pride. I'm a Minnesota guy. Yes. What do you think, Jake?
What do I think? I think that the Brewers, they need to get better at pitching. That's what killed them last year, too. I don't know, Braun was out a couple games, too, the ones that they lost against the Rockies. Axford's been blowing a couple games at the end. I mean, there's a point where you just got to say, when are we going to stop putting in Axford? Instead of putting in Axford, put in Jim Henderson. I mean, the guy with the beard looks like he can do something,
Well, I have to admit, coming from the Brewers' standpoint, Axford has had so many phenomenal saves in his past. He had that crazy save streak a while back. I can't remember how long it was off the top of my head, but it was crazy. He was just so dominant, and for some reason his confidence just really went down. And now it seems like he can't save a game to save his life. It used to be Axford came in, Brewers win. You almost felt like that was in the bag before you pitched a pitch. Now Axford comes in, you're like, oh crap, we're probably going to lose this game, even though we have the lead.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So even though they are slow to put in Henderson, I feel like I can kind of understand why they're so slow to do it. And plus, are you pretty much dooming Axford's confidence forever, or do you then put him in another pitching role, maybe the 8th inning? What would you say?
I don't know, maybe we just, instead of just trying to save it, as the saver at the 9th, I try to put him in maybe as a relief pitcher, maybe during the middle of the game, see how he works. If he's still doing bad, I don't know. It's just one of those, those confidence things, the X factor that is a lot in a lot of teams that makes them good or makes them bad. And right now, the X factor of Axford is bad. I mean, if he ever gets good and back to form where he was, the Brewers could be good again. I mean, and my boy Ricky Weeks. But, I mean, Braun gets a little bit more healthy, gets his neck problem figured out, and we'll be batting crazy right into the playoffs if he figures out if we figure out what our pitching is up to.
That's true. And, yeah, I mean, before the year started, I thought the Brewers had a better chance of making the playoffs than the Twins. Right now, we are only 7 games in, but, I mean, the Twins are 2 games up on the Brewers. But we're 7 games in.
Yeah.
So, Well, after that, how do you think the Twins are doing? I will give my opinion on the Twins. They're 4-3. They're above 500. They're actually doing pretty well. But even as a Twins fan, I have a hard time feeling like they're going to keep this up for the whole year.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a couple of their games, flipping from the Brewer games. I mean, they did beat Detroit. I mean, they beat them at least once, and split a couple games there. But I don't know. I mean, if Maurer actually earns the money that he got paid, they could be. I mean, they could be good. They might. I don't know. They could be the underage team, the under the radar team. That every year in every sport have an under-radar team. They could be an under-the-radar team.
The Twins did that for a few years in a row back in
Yeah.
the 2000s, so why can't they do it again? Well, after that, there was a certain game last night. It was kind of a big deal. It was a national championship game for basketball. I must say, I was watching this game with some people. Not only did I say it, a couple of people I saw this game with agreed with me. This was one of the best basketball games I have ever seen. The first half was phenomenal. Trey Burke got the first 7 points for Michigan, put Michigan out to what looked like Michigan might kind of run away with the game. After that, Louisville kind of came back, but you had so much excitement. Scott Albright, off the bench, 17 points. At one point was 4 for 4 from three-point land, 10 for 10 from three-point land for the entirety of the tournament. Then he misses his last three. So he goes a pretty sad 10 for 11 from three-point land throughout the entire tournament. 17 points off the bench. This guy was shooting what seemed like 25-foot threes and sinking them like they were nothing. On top of that, we had a few great alley-oop plays. It was very competitive, 38-37 at halftime. So much excitement up and down the court. So much intensity, so much passion on both sides. Eventually, in the second half, Louisville kind of ran away with it. Luke Hancock made 4 straight three-pointers for the Cardinals. Peyton Siva and Chase Benahan had monster second halves. And Louisville got their first title since 1986 with an 82-76 victory over the Wolverines. So, we know the facts. What was your opinion on last night's game?
From what I've seen of the game, I kind of missed the first half, sadly, but the best half. The second half, I watched it. Yeah, they still had great plays. Like you were telling me earlier, like if they made just a top 10 out of that game, they could easily make a top 10 in a playlist out of that on SportsCenter. But yeah, I really think what really drove the Cardinals to win was Kevin Ware and his broken leg. They really rallied around that team, especially against Duke, where they were a little bit down by Duke, and then when he broke his leg, they kind of like huddled around him, and he there was a thing in Sports Illustrated about Kevin Ware telling his mom that he was all right, Mom, don't worry. I mean, he's gonna get better. That I think that was their X factor, kind of how we were talking with Axford and the Brewers, and their X factor would be pitching and his confidence. I think the X factor with Louisville was Kevin Ware and how the team rallied around Kevin Ware, and how they just took great leadership and just brought it in and took it at home at the end and won it all for him. And I mean, at the end of the game, they even lowered the hoop for him to cut the string while he was in the wheelchair. But I think it was a great kind of story to go with it, and maybe we'll see a movie about it in like 10 years because they're running out of ideas.
Yeah, you never know. Well, and the other interesting thing with Louisville, it's not like they're a big state school or whatever. It's not like we're talking about Wisconsin or Michigan or Minnesota school with the state name. Talking about Louisville, they won the Sugar Bowl in last January, BCS game. They won the national championship in men's basketball last night. And at the time that we're doing the show, we do not know, because the game will be tonight, if the women's team will win or not, but the women's team is in the game for the national championship in women's basketball tonight. That's impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's ever been done before. You could have a BCS win, a men's basketball win, and a women's basketball win from the same school, same year.
Yeah.
That was a stat that really jumped out at me.
Their recruiting will go way up.
So might as well get used to Louisville in these games, huh? Okay, well, we've talked about them in past shows. The Minnesota Wild. I know in past shows we've talked about them being third in conference. Right now they're sixth in the conference. The Minnesota Wild are still very, very, very likely going to go to the playoffs. Tonight they play the Blackhawks at home at 7 p.m. on the NBC Sports Network. Now, they may be sixth. They're not too far back from third even. At the same time, they're not too far ahead of ninth. So, however, the reason I'm very confident with the Minnesota Wild, 6 of their 10 remaining games are against teams currently not seeded in the top 8, and it's 18 playoffs. 6 of their 10 remaining games are at home. So I would say their schedule is very favorable. After their 6 of 10 games are not against teams currently seeded in top 8, only one of their games is against a team seeded in the top 3 as of the current standings. And that is tonight against Chicago.
Yeah.
So I have to say they may be 6 now, but I'm still thinking they're a top 4 team come playoff time, probably top 3. I think they're going to overtake Vancouver for the division championship and take that division. They just have a very good front line. Clutterbuck. I know Clutterbuck is not a big household name, but I love Cal Clutterbuck as a player. Not only does he have a cool name, but I saw him score his first ever NHL goal. That's my little point of pride. I was at the XL for that game. It was 3 years ago, I think. They just have talent. They got their new additions.
The game tonight is really what the deciding factor is. If you're playing Chicago and, Chicago went on that win streak, they're no team to be pushing around. Even if they do lose tonight, they have an easy schedule. But if they do win tonight, that can make a statement for that team and saying, hey, we're here to win. We're not here to just sneak in the playoffs and lose.
And it'll really boost their confidence, hopefully engage them on a late run to get that 3rd seed, hopefully. I feel like the top 2 seeds are out of reach for them, but I think they can definitely still get that 3rd seed.
Yeah, definitely.
Anaheim and Chicago they're kind of above the rest.
Yeah.
Well, NBA. So, what do you have for me about the NBA, Jake?
Not much really, except for the Heat finally lost. They lost to the Bulls.
You must be kidding. They went 2 months without winning. How could the Heat lose? Or without losing, how could the Heat lose?
Yeah, and the thing that was surprising is, they lost to the Bulls, who didn't even have Derrick Rose in, and also they didn't even have Jakeem Noah in. So Dang on the team really had to take over, and Nate Robinson as a point guard went really well for the Bulls. It's weird because last year the Heat knocked out the Bulls in the playoffs. The Bulls won the first game. Derrick Rose had the knee injury and then went out, and then the Bulls ended up losing that series. It was a very good game to watch. Towards the end, it just seemed like the Heat just kind of lost a lot of their steam. They just thought, we've already won 20-some games. The streak would be nice to keep going on, but after a while, then they just kind of sat their players the next couple of games because now the streaks are really going to go to the playoffs. They have the best record in the NBA, but
didn't they clinch their division wasn't it 3 weeks ago or something crazy like that? At this point it's pretty much just wait and see what happens in the postseason. What do they really have to play for right now? Kill the Bobcats again.
Yeah,
I guess they can do that. They play the Bucks tonight. Well, now along with the Bucks are odds are they're gonna be faced off against the Heat in the first round of playoffs because they clinched a playoff spot already, but they're really too far below the 7th seed to have a reasonable shot of catching Philadelphia. So odds are in the first round it's going to be Miami versus Milwaukee. My response to that is certain words I should probably not say on camera.
Well.
Yeah.
But at least they're still in the playoffs. This was their last chance, to kind of make the playoffs. Monte Ellis and Brandon Jennings. At least they're gonna make it. at least as Milwaukee Bucks fans, people can at least say, hey, you know what? We made the playoffs.
Might have gone swept and lost by combined score 400 to 300. But hey,
but
made the playoffs.
They were one of the 16 teams that make the playoffs out of the 30 teams in the NBA. So
the team with the worst record. But they'll make it.
Yeah, they'll make it,
Here's my little Wolves fan coming out in me.
They beat the system. They made it.
It's all they did. Heck, if the Wolves were in the East, they could almost make the playoffs. Almost. Yeah. Now, the Clippers. I know this is not local we're talking, but I feel like I have to make a point of this. The Clippers, 43 years as an NBA team. They win their division the first year. And here's the crazy thing. One of the LA teams is great. The other LA team is not going to make the playoffs. Guess which team I'm talking about. This is the only year you would ever guess the Clippers are going to make the playoffs as a division champ, and the Lakers could very easily miss the playoffs altogether. I mean, for me, that's just kind of mind-boggling. Like, that just almost seems like the world isn't the way it's supposed to be. It's almost... I mean, the Clippers are crappy usually, and the Lakers are wonderful.
Yeah.
What happened?
I mean, yeah, if we were talking earlier this season, you think, the Clippers would be the one that would be the bad. Or, a couple of years ago before, they started on the roll with CP3 and Blake Griffin, you think, the Clippers are going to lose. I mean, the Lakers always have been dominant. I mean, the Lakers still probably will still make the playoffs, I believe, as the last seed. I mean, just talent-wise, Kobe Bryant single-handedly kind of taking that team to the playoffs, which, I mean, if the team was doing better, I believe Kobe would be really high for MVP race.
Yeah. I wouldn't go with that. You know who my MVP is? LeBron James. I mean, honestly, just look at the Heat went on a 27-game win streak. Yeah, now they're kind of losing a few games, but then again, what do they have to play for?
Yeah, I mean, at least he didn't say Brian Scalabrine or something.
No. I mean, I could have said Brandon Jennings and been completely full of it. I mean, come on. So, yes, viewers, Brandon Jennings for MVP. Do not mark that in stone. I did not say that seriously. All right. So, anything else in the world of the NBA?
Not much, it's just the Heat streak's ending. I mean, it's almost the playoff time. I mean, we don't have much until, the playoffs start. But I mean, nothing much else. I mean, the Jazz and the Rockets on the West are still battling with the Lakers, get the last 8th and 7th seed. I mean, there's not much else to go on. I mean, it's almost playoffs. That's about it.
Well,
I mean, the Heat streak is over. I mean, I apologize. Thunder and Spurs. For the number 1 seed in the West. That's a close one. I was kind of I just totally forgot about that.
Don't worry. That's why I'm here for you.
Thank you. I think maybe the Thunder could take the first seed in the West. I mean, you know how the Spurs are older and he wants to rest his players. He with Ginobili and Parker and all them being older and needing a break before the playoffs. He likes to rest his players, although he's kind of been getting yelled at the coach about it. But I don't know. I could see the Thunder overall probably taking the number 1 seed towards the end of the year if they really want it.
Who's your NBA champion pick?
NBA champion. I'll pick the Thunder.
I'm going to go Heat.
Because I'm a big Thunder fan. Liked them when they were the Seattle Supersonics. I mean, I'm not one of those guys that jump on the bandwagon. No. I mean,
we've had that conversation before, but you might want to tell it to the viewers.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a lot of people that jump on the bandwagon with the people that win, but I mean, I liked them when they were the Supersonics. I liked them before they picked Kevin Durant. I just, I know why. I just liked them. I know, and I mean, I still kind of like the Wolves, even though they lose a lot. I mean, since I go to so many games, I mean,
you go to so many games with me.
It's so nice, yeah.
Yeah, it's just the Wolves are going to be good next year. By the way, I mean. I'm really hoping they are. Okay, so along with that, you want to do a quick bit of NFL?
Yeah, NFL, the draft's coming up. Other than that, there's been a couple moves, not too major. I mean, Nnamdi Asomugha did sign with the 49ers for just $1.5 million, which, I mean, a couple years ago, you're thinking, wow, Nnamdi Asomugha and a crazy good corner. He went to the Eagles, got a huge contract. Didn't work out. I mean, I think this contract says a lot about Nnamdi and his character. He wants to prove himself again that he can be a great corner, signing for such a little bit of money. None of it is guaranteed either. So, I mean, even if he gets hurt, I mean, he could still be cut. I mean, he just wants to prove himself. Other than that, I mean, there's the draft coming up. But another big move, if you've heard about Kevin Kolb when he went to the Bills, Kevin Kolb said that he's here to win a Super Bowl. What do you think about Kevin Kolb saying that when he went to the Bills out of all places?
Not a chance.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I think of that. I think there's a better chance of the Vikings winning the next Super Bowl. And I'm just going to be blunt honest and say that ain't going to happen either. Even as a little bit of a Vikings fan, no, it's not going to happen. I think the Vikings can maybe make the playoffs again next year, but the Packers are clearly the better team.
Yeah. I mean, although they did lose a lot of pieces, I mean, and they didn't really gain that much. I mean, they still have Aaron Rodgers. I mean, as long as they have Aaron Rodgers, they can go to the playoffs.
I mean, as long as Aaron Rodgers doesn't break his neck, yeah. I mean, I will say, I would have a lot of worries for Packer fans if Aaron Rodgers did go down. But then again, that's with a lot of teams. For the Vikings, it almost might be a good thing if their starting quarterback went down, because I have a hard time feeling confident in Christian Ponder. And I also have a hard time feeling confident in Joe Webb, but it's not much lessening my confidence in Christian Ponder.
Yeah.
So, AP all day.
So do you think, as a Vikings fan, do you think they might draft a quarterback first, with maybe their first round pick or maybe a second round pick?
No, I don't, because for some reason that is beyond me. The Vikings management is really high on Christian Ponder. So therefore, my answer is no. Now, if you want to ask me, should they? My response is yes. Most definitely. Either that or a good receiver. But, yeah, because now with Percy Harvin gone, they don't really have a great receiver. Yeah, Greg Jennings, but they need a good receiver.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers it seemed like he made Greg Jennings. I mean, Greg Jennings is a good receiver, but he also has been hurt a lot.
Right.
So, then if and then there's two other players that may have come back, trying to get a comeback, is Jamarcus Russell apparently dropped 20 pounds. So he's around 302. And
well, that's it for a Russian quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, you can see him sprinting up and down the field like Michael Vick pretty soon. But and another player too, T.O. has been working out with Tom Brady. But yeah, I highly doubt either of them will be back. I mean, this sounds really mean, but I mean, T.O., I see him on a bunch of things that just kind of looks like he's kind of a sellout trying to get as much money as he can while he's still, known, kind of.
No, he needs to quit.
Yeah, he just needs to retire. I mean, he after he left the 49ers and then you had that spiel with the Eagles and had that huge argument, like couldn't get along with any quarterback. I mean, if nobody's going to
want him?
Yeah, if you can't get along with anybody, nobody's going to want to work with you. I mean, then lastly with the Cowboys, other than that, after he left the Cowboys, I just knew it was over.
I will admit, there was one really good thing that T.O. did with the 49ers in Cowboy Stadium when he ran to the Dallas Star in the middle of the field, spiked the football, and then got destroyed by a Dallas Cowboy player. Honestly, it might be one of my favorite celebrations ever. That, and maybe the Joe Horn taking a cell phone out of the goalpost and calling someone. I really like that one too. But I will admit, I saw that Joe Horn one live. I was laughing so hard for like probably 3 minutes.
Definitely worth the fine. I mean, they make so much money anyways.
One of my favorite things is Chad Johnson calling the commissioner before the Pro Bowl, being like, "Hey, commish, can I do a crazy touchdown celebration and not get fined during the Pro Bowl?" Yeah, these players might have issues, but they're kind of fun to watch.
Yeah. So we just talked about T.O. Do you think Jamarcus Russell deserves a second chance in the NFL?
302-pound Russian quarterback.
Well, I mean, he doesn't have to run. I mean, he does have a cannon arm.
He's known as a Russian quarterback.
I mean, he can kneel and throw the ball 60 yards. That's the reason why the Raiders drafted him.
302-pound NFL quarterback. That's my answer.
Yeah, I mean, I highly doubt I'm all for second chances, sometimes even third chances. I kick myself. But, Jamarcus Russell, he went to that Raiders organization, didn't want to do any work, didn't feel like doing any work, took all that money from the Raiders. He practically stole that money. He didn't do anything. He was one of the worst players ever drafted. I mean, he did have drug problems. He did the codeine, with the purple drink and everything like that. But, I mean, I really don't think that he should get another shot. He does, work him out. I don't know, see what he does, see how his character issues still is. But if he's still staying out with that same crew, I don't think I would give him another shot.
No, I wouldn't.
He's just after he made it pro, he just cashed in, took all the money, and then left, spent it on cough syrup and everything like that, and partied and everything, which is highly irresponsible. I mean, I don't think, even as an organization myself, even with a bad quarterback, like let's say I was the Bills, I wouldn't give him another shot. I mean, even if you're like the Vikings are that's weary about quarterback, I wouldn't give him another shot. I mean, this guy just doesn't need another chance. He has a big arm. Who doesn't have a big arm that just gets drafted because they have a big arm? I mean, seriously, this guy just needs to call it quits, go back, go to rehab, figure out what he's doing with his life, and then figure out and do something else. Like mostly like a bunch of other retired people that became huge draft busts. Go sell insurance or something. I mean, I don't know what is up with this guy. I don't know. I mean, I'm all for second chances, but this is one guy I don't think I'd give a second chance to.
I'd have to say I agree. Well, on that note, viewers, we're going to talk about the community television auction as we wrap things up. The community television auction will be on April 27th. It will start at 11 a.m. here on community television. And we have a few sports-related items that we're going to talk about. We have Eau Claire Express tickets. We have a pair of UW Eau Claire season tickets for football for next year. We have a pick that's signed by the aforementioned Percy Harvin, who is no longer a Viking. We have a baseball autographed by the also previously mentioned Ryan Braun. We have a pair of club-level tickets from Milwaukee Brewers. We have some Bucks tickets valued at $73. And we have a Green Bay Packers autographed football. All of this will be auctioned at the CTV auction on April 27th, starting at 11 a.m. here on CTV. Okay, well, on that note, that's our show for today, folks. I'm Mike Falk.
And I'm Jake File.
And Eau Claire, what is the magic word, Jake?
Stay classy, Eau Claire.